welcome back to Caps Hockey Review. I appreciate you joining me once again. Well, Capitals have the New York Rangers in the final game of their season set on Wednesday evening. There were lots of things to talk about coming out of this one and going into this one, given everything that happened on Monday with Tom Wilson and Artemi Panarin and Pavel Buchnevich. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. Let's get to it. Caps Hockey Review, let's go. And off we go. Caps Hockey Review underway once again. Thanks for joining me. Capitals in Gotham City on Wednesday for the last time this season to take on the Rangers. Going to finish up that season set. Well, this game needs no introduction. The Capitals came into this fully expecting some retribution for what happened on Monday between Tom Wilson and Artemi Panarin, as well as Pavel Buchnevich. He was tied up in that little scrum. I'll get to him a little bit later. I mean, I've kind of lost a little bit of all sympathy for the guy, if I'm being honest, but we'll get to that. We all knew coming into this thing, and it just, even if you don't really follow the Capitals or the Rangers in particular, just following any kind of social media hockey-wise, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be, it's just been this constant stream of media about this game, and the Rangers are looking for retribution for what Wilson did to Panarin on Monday. We're gonna have a lot of fights. There's gonna be some violence in this thing, a lot of jokes going around. Well, that's exactly what we got. I think we all knew we were gonna get that. I don't know. I certainly didn't expect it to the degree that it happened. I knew there was probably gonna be a couple fights. I knew Wilson would have to answer the bell. I didn't know who was going to step up and fight him, but I knew he would have to answer the bell. What I didn't expect was that every other Caps player apparently had to answer the bell for this. So, right off the opening draw, we get both teams' fourth lines for the Caps, that Hagelin Dowd Hathaway line. All the favorites, the fourth line beauties hanging out over there. Well, they dropped the gloves right off the hop. All three. 3 fights to start the game. 1 second in, right off the opening puck drop. That's some old time hockey stuff. You don't see that much anymore. Really, ever. Wow. I would have almost expected Wilson to be out there first and just kind of get it out of the way right away, but it became clear as this game went along, he could have been out there for the first, second, third, and fourth shifts. It wouldn't have gone away no matter how many times he fought. They were just kind of going for him all night. But good for these three. Like, we've seen Hathaway fight. We've seen Dowd get in a scrum or two. Hagelin, I don't think Hagelin fights. I've never really seen him do it. I don't think he's too well versed in the expertise, but he gave it his best go, and he actually fared pretty well. So those three right off the hop, and then next shift's Wilson, so there's gonna be another one, and sure enough, Brendan Smith jumps Wilson. I mean, Smith had his gloves off and his arms around Wilson before Wilson even knew what was happening, and Wilson stood up and held his own in there. I don't think Brendan Smith is a guy who's really going to challenge Wilson in a fight, but I think it's the toughest that the Rangers got. So we get it out of the way. Okay, now we're expecting some hockey. Okay, well, wait a minute. Now we're going to fight on the next shift. Lars Eller, Michael Raffl will drop them for the Caps. So it gets to the point where the penalty box, there's this sweet overhead shot on Twitter of the Capitals penalty box, and it's just packed to the gills in there. I mean, there's no COVID protocol being followed in there. Those guys look so uncomfortable. Just ugh. Like sitting too close to people on the bench sucks. I couldn't imagine being crammed in this little like I don't know 6 foot by 3 foot box with you know five other guys. So really an interesting start to the game. And even after the fights kind of die down a little bit, but it's still just chippy. It's nasty. 142 penalty minutes in total handed out in this thing. There were multiple game misconducts. The 10-2, the good old 10-2. A major penalty for Pavel Buchnevich for cross checking. I said we'll get to that later, and we will. 100 of those penalty minutes come in the first period. Like there was no hockey in the first period. That old joke that really kind of annoys me because it's not really true anymore, and it's kind of just an old joke for a past generation. But oh, I went to a hockey game or I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. Well, kind of it was true. I mean this was less Wednesday night rivalry on for the NHL on NBC. It was more like Wednesday night fights on NBC. So this we all knew it was coming. We all expected it. I guess what I didn't really expect was what happened with Pavel Buchnevich and Anthony Mantha. And this is let me be very clear on my stance on Tom Wilson before I dive into what Buchnevich did, because the last thing I want to do here is come off as hypocritical and biased. I'm trying to be as impartial as I can here. Tom Wilson plays on the edge, plays on the line, and he did a good job for a couple of years there, really towing the line and just doing a good job not to cross it. Or if he did cross it, he didn't cross it by much. But after the Carlo hit, like he's got to realize he's marked now again. And this play with Buchnevich and Panarin on Monday, yes, it's the heat of the moment. Yes, it's kind of a scrum. It's shit happens. Okay, anybody who's played hockey knows when you get caught in a scrum and people are around you. If somebody jumps on your back, now of course you're gonna react. Okay, that's all out of the way. Tom Wilson frequently, at least this year, just frequently seems to kind of be not towing that line as well as he should. I don't know if it's. I think Laviolette really, really needs to kind of put the leash back on here, for lack of a better term, and really just and be honest with him and sit him down and say, Tom, you're a great player. You're really effective for us. You can produce offensively. You can play the physical game. You can help on the penalty kill. You're such a versatile player. So many coaches would love to have this guy when he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But when you do the kind of stupid, unnecessary kind of things that he did on Monday, it's it's frustrating. I'll put it that way. And this is we've seen this a lot from Wilson, and I said on the last video I'm shocked he didn't get suspended for this. And he's got to realize at some point, man, the big suspension's got to be coming. Like he's gotten fairly lucky. He got the big one a couple years ago, but man, he's not under repeat offender status. So what's he do? He goes on a rampage again. So Tom Wilson as a player needs to get back to how he was under Todd Reirden. You play, I know, me talking about somebody playing the way they did under Todd Reirden, that's rare. We all know what a big Reirden fan I am. But anyway, he did a really, really good job in that 2 year span of playing the physical game but not going too far. And this year he's kind of taking it too far. And as a fan of this team and as a fan of hockey, I don't want to see that. I want, as a fan of the Washington Capitals, I want Tom Wilson to be on the ice and do what he does well. I don't want him to get suspended. I don't want him to do the stupid things that will get him suspended. And as a fan of hockey, hits and plays like this are what the NHL and the Department of Player Safety are trying so hard to eliminate. And we can talk about the track record. We can talk about, well, they don't get it right all the time. Well, no, they don't. Nobody's perfect. But I said this in the last video too. I stand in the middle of the spectrum where you have old time guys and new age fans on these suspension issues, on the hit issues. I want Tom Wilson to play his game, and because we need hits to stay in hockey. We need those physical plays. We need fights sometimes. We need those plays in hockey. What we don't need are the stupid plays where a star player gets, slammed to the ice and injured. We don't need that. So moving past Tom Wilson, now I'm going to focus on what Pavel Buchnevich did this evening. This play is nothing more than an angry player. Just Anthony Mantha had gotten under his skin on this shift. He'd gone after Wilson a couple times, and Chara checked him for it. So he's probably a little bit pissed off, but running around a little bit. Anthony Mantha's jawing with him. And what do? They skate away, they come back together, and Buchnevich jumps and just cross checks Mantha right in the face. Knew exactly what he was doing. I don't even think the puck was there. Or if it was, it wasn't very close to Mantha. This play is what the NHL is trying to eliminate. I firmly believe Buchnevich should be and will be suspended for this. It's a player who knows exactly what he's doing on the play. He has every intention of cross-checking Mantha in the face. He was given a 5-minute major penalty on the play. We don't need this play in hockey. And I'm not trying to sit here as a Caps fan and defend Tom Wilson while simultaneously selling Buchnevich down the river. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to stay in the middle and be as even as I possibly can be. So these plays don't need to happen in hockey. I'm frankly glad these two teams are not going to play again this year. If they had to play again on Friday, it would be an absolute nightmare. Like, hats off to the refs who had this game tonight. I know TJ Luxmore and I believe it was Ian Walsh. These two guys just did an outstanding job. Given everything, all the buildup coming into this thing and everything that happened, like they had to know they were walking into the lion's den here, but they did the best they could to control chaos. It got a bit out of hand there in the first period, but they did a pretty good job. So thankfully this season series is over. Will we have to see more of this next year? Maybe. They're in the same division. I mean, they're going to play each other at least 4 times. So is this over? Probably not. But moving past that, I've spent plenty of time on this little bit of a circus here of a hockey game we had. It was actually a pretty good game for the Caps. Uh, Plenty of shots, out shooting, out hitting, doing Capitals things. TJ Oshie. TJ Oshie. The Osh. Timothy Jimothy, whatever you want to call him. the guy the guy is coming out here tonight playing with a broken heart after his father passed away earlier this week. And he comes out and just plays one heck of a hockey game. Doesn't miss a beat. Scores 2 power play goals. He's hitting everything in sight. He's doing what he does. Empty netter to cap it off the end. Gets the hat trick. Has a well-deserved emotional moment on the bench there. Hugs, stick taps, fist bumps, the whole 9 yards. Great job for Oshie, and really, really classy move by the Caps. If anybody didn't see it, they had helmet decals made that say "Coach" on them. within the Caps organization, and to a lot of people, TJ Oshie's dad Tim is known as Coach Osh. So it's a really touching tribute, something small that the organization can do for TJ in his time of grieving. And even Laviolette, I mean, the man's wearing the sticker on his blazer. I mean, Laviolette is a player's coach if there ever was one. The man loves his players. He wants nothing but the best for every one of them. So really, really great night overall for the Caps. Vitek Vanacek was really good. I mean, the power play looked good. You're missing some key pieces. Of course, you're missing Alex Ovechkin. You're missing the key piece to the power play, but they're clicking. They're looking good. And I guess this is a decent point to kind of segue into the inactive players right now, because not quite the laundry list it was the other day, but still, it is a little bit more than a post-it note. Alex Ovechkin, of course, still out. Took one shift in that game Monday and left. I would not suspect we'll see him again before the playoffs. He needs to get healthy. He needs to kind of get whatever's ailing him under control. Just come back for the playoffs. Don't do anything extra right now. You don't need to come back this regular season. Just be ready for the playoffs. That's the thought on Ovechkin. In fact, that's probably about the thought on all these guys right now. Justin Schultz, same thing. Like day to day skating, not quite feeling right. Just the best thing to do would just be to sit him down for these next 3 games. There's nothing to gain as far as making the playoffs or missing the playoffs. There's nothing to lose. Really, just get your guys healthy. So, moving past Ovechkin and Schultz, I want to talk a little bit about Evgeny Kuznetsov and Ilya Samsonov. Samsonov, like along with Kuznetsov, was suspended for Monday's game by the team for missing or being late for a team function. And then it came out that yesterday they would remain suspended for today's game. And then it came out Evgeny Kuznetsov was placed in the COVID protocol by the NHL. He's already been there once this year. Ilya Samsonov, I would have to imagine, is in that same position, although he is technically on the Caps taxi squad right now, so his name does not have to be added to the list, or the list is for taxi squad players is not public knowledge. That's an interesting way to go about it by the NHL, but it's their show, whatever. Evgeny Kuznetsov. I have been in this guy's corner for most of this year, for a lot of this year. I came in thinking this is a prove it year for Kuznetsov. He's got to show his value. He's got to give this team a reason to keep him around. And he's done that. He really has, especially these last 8 to 10 weeks. He's been really, really solid. The problem now, the off ice stuff. Okay, the cocaine thing, that's a couple years removed. And I would assume is water under the bridge at this point. However, early in the year, you're out for however many weeks in COVID protocol because you broke the rules. And he wasn't the only one. Alex Ovechkin, Ilya Samsonov, Dmitry Orlov, they all broke the rules. The problem here is that Ilya Samsonov and Evgeny Kuznetsov seem to have done it again. Okay, yes, you're great hockey players, and yes, you mean a lot to this organization, but this is a business. I feel like too many people forget that sometimes. This is a business too. It's hard not to like Kuznetsov. He seems like such just a fun, free spirit kind of guy. Great. But you still have to put your work first. And a little article slipped out on Tuesday that maybe Caps management is getting a little bit fed up, a little bit tired of Kuznetsov's attitude, his antics, his off ice issues, however you want to put it, regardless, it's a problem. And we saw it with, let me think of it, let me find a good example. Tyler Seguin in Boston, number 2 overall pick, got traded because there were questions about his work ethic. There were questions about his off ice behavior. Certainly, there aren't those questions today. He is a huge piece of the Dallas Stars. He is a great player. He definitely learned his lesson in that situation. But looking at this Kuznetsov situation, it looks kind of similar. Like the writing might be on the wall here. As it sits right now on May 5th of 2021, I sit here about 80% confident that Evgeny Kuznetsov will not be a Washington Capital by the beginning of next season. It sucks. I mean, he really has done quite a bit for this organization, but this organization's done a lot for him too. He's a top 2 center. He's being paid just over $7 million a year. At some point, he has to put hockey first, and this little situation here that seemed to be small is kind of snowballing into something bigger, and it doesn't seem like maybe hockey is a high priority for him. I hope it is. I hope I'm wrong here. But missing team activities, getting in another situation where you come in contact with somebody who has COVID, getting exposed, possibly getting it, there's new strains out there, who knows? Either way, the bottom line is that Evgeny Kuznetsov is being paid all this money by the Capitals, and he's becoming a bit of a headache from a management standpoint and from a coach standpoint. Laviolette builds his game plan around the roster, and when one of your best players isn't there, that changes things. As much as we all like to say, "Oh, it doesn't change," it changes a little bit. Like, yes, next guy up. Yes, get the guy in the rotation, and do the best you can to not miss a beat. But sometimes you do, and sometimes it'd be great to have Evgeny Kuznetsov in the lineup. This is a frustrating situation from a fan standpoint. I can't even imagine how frustrated Peter Laviolette, Brian McClellan, Dick Patrick must be about this whole situation. So as it sits now, I don't think Kuznetsov's a Capital next year. I think maybe I don't know if he needs a change of scenery. I don't know what it is. When a guy starts getting compared for the Capitals to Alex Semin, alarm bells start going off for me. Anybody who wasn't around at that point as a Caps fan or anything like that, Alex Semin was kind of Evgeny Kuznetsov before Evgeny Kuznetsov. He came into the league around the same time as Ovechkin and Backstrom, and was just disgustingly talented. I mean, Bruce Boudreau, former Caps coach, has said on record Alex Semin is a more skilled player than Alex Ovechkin. The difference is Ovi has a hell of a work ethic. Alex Semin absolutely did not, and it doesn't look like Kuznetsov does right now. So this is concerning, disappointing, however you want to put it. It's a problem. And as far as Samsonov goes, he's not going to find his way out the door yet. I still believe he is the goalie of the future. I still believe the Caps are going to do everything they can to put him in a position to have success. But as it sits now, with the way Vitek Vanacek played tonight and the way he played the other night, with Samsonov missing games and missing opportunities due to suspension and COVID protocol, right now I think it's Vitek Vanacek's net to lose. I think we will see him start the playoffs for the Caps. I I'm not upset about that. I I don't really favor one of these guys over the other, and the best guy should play. That's what this comes down to. The best guy needs to be in the net, and the guy that you can depend on. Vanacek's been there all year. He was the backbone the first time this whole COVID thing hit. and now it looks like he's going to be the backbone again. So this is a very frustrating situation here. It's frustrating for me as a fan. Absolutely 1,000%. This is a team that really could use some time playing together and build momentum going into the playoffs. And it doesn't look like some of these guys are going to be there for that. Ovechkin, Schultz, it's not their fault. Obviously, they're injured, but Kuznetsov, Samsonov, got to make better choices off the ice because your off ice choices are now affecting this team on the ice. And management, coaching cannot have that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, we won't see any of that until summer probably, but this is interesting. The Caps are going to finish up here within the week, regular season wise. They have back to backs with Philly on Friday, Saturday, and Boston coming up next week. All three games at home, closing out the season at Cap One. Pretty exciting. I mean, I feel like there's two winnable games in here and a third one that should be a heck of a battle. So let's see where it goes. Right now I'm pretty excited. This team faced up to the adversity tonight, faced up to all the BS, and came through looking pretty good. So let's hope they keep it going. We'll find out on Friday.